Why might technology improve education? All over the world, there is a general dissatisfaction with the current education system. There are three most pressing problems in education: access, cost, and quality. The major problem in education today is that hundreds of millions of the world's citizens do not receive it. Over 100 million children never see the inside of a school. The second side of the triangle is quality. But what do we mean by quality? First of all, we have to think about what the purpose of education is in order to define it. Education should have two aims: to create human capital and social capital. Human capital means the individual knowledge and skills that make a person more autonomous, more flexible, and more productive. It is the formation of competent human beings. But since no man is an island, this individual human capital is not enough. We also need social capital, which is trust in other people and networks of contacts. It is the coming together of people to work for a common goal that creates communities. Social capital means the education of people able to function in a society. We all see that our world is changing. We are immersed in an information world dominated by service. More than ever, new ideas are needed. Teaching is not anymore to pass on receive information. In this new era, information is everywhere. What is important is to be able to analyze the information, investigate, and create. The role of a teacher is to facilitate learning, and here's one of the biggest problems. The dominant culture of education is neither focusing on teaching nor on learning, but on testing. Which one of these two groups do you think is encouraged more in modern education? We are requested to focus our attention on the right answer. And of course, in something this is very important. But is that all? All these concepts are very important to convergent thinking. We use convergent thinking when we want to take information from a variety of sources and narrow our opinions to develop one correct answer. In the opposite direction is divergent thinking. Here, we start from one point and generate multiple options to resolve the problem or issue. It is about seeing a lot of possible answers to a question. Divergent thinking is not the same as creativity. It's one step before. It leads to creativity, which we will define as the process of having original ideas that have value. The real driver of creativity is an appetite for discovery and a passion for the work itself. We could say curiosity is the engine of motivation. When students are motivated to learn, they naturally acquire the skills they need to get the work done. Unfortunately, here we come to another big problem of current education: the high dropout rates. Many students are alienated. They don't see any purpose of going to school. And if we think about it, it makes sense. It is not that unusual that students learn something before knowing what it can actually be used for. As for example, learning to calculate derivatives but leaving high school and still not knowing what their practical purpose was. This leads to bored and unmotivated students. We all have different talent and aptitudes and different ways of understanding things. Students possess different kinds of minds and therefore learn, remember, perform, and understand in different ways. In the actual educational system, it is assumed that everyone can learn the same content in the same way and time, and that a uniform universal measure suffices to test the student's learning progress. We are used to understanding intelligence as a unique, singular thing. Howard Gardner, however, developed the theory of multiple intelligence. According to him, there are 9 different intelligences: verbal linguistic, mathematical logical, musical, visual spatial, body kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, and existential intelligence. He claims that where individuals differ is in the strength of these intelligences and in the ways in which such intelligences are involved and combined to carry out different tasks, solve different problems, and progress in various domains. Theoretically, we could increase students' motivation by adapting contents or tasks, maximizing their performance according to their different amounts of each intelligence. It means create conditions where kids' natural talents can flourish. Another big problem is the participation and attention during explanation. Teachers usually ask something related with the topic at the end or during the lesson to test if the students understood it. What normally happens is that 2 or 3 students quickly raise their hands and solve the question before the majority of the remaining students have enough time to really think about it. In a traditional classroom, you do some homework, some lectures, and then you have an exam. After the exam, the class moves on to the next topic. If you are in the group of students that didn't understand the topic entirely, you will nevertheless be asked to keep going, even if you still have huge knowledge gaps. It is like giving students a bicycle, some lessons, and then say,
"Well, let's see how good you are. Oh, you're having trouble taking right turns and you can't stop. Okay, then you are a 70% bicyclist. Now, here is a unicycle."
Everyone has a different pace of learning, and in the traditional classroom it is complicated to do it justice. And here we arrive at the third side of the triangle, the cost of education. High costs limit access. In general, education is something really expensive, and the more individual it is, the more costly it gets. When you express the basic challenge of education in terms of this triangle of forces, one uncomfortable fact is clear. Because of the dependencies of the three corners, it is impossible to influence all of them in a positive way at the same time. If we want to raise the accessibility, so for example by putting more students in each class, the cost will be lower for each student, but having more students per teacher will result in a decrease in quality as well. If we want to improve quality, for example by making lessons more individual, we tend to raise costs by hiring more teachers. Higher costs reduce access, and if we want to keep the cost at the minimum, we again trade quality for accessibility. Traditional methods of teaching and learning cannot produce the change required, but technological tools hold the potential to do it. With advanced technology, it will be possible to create more personalized programs, motivating students and allowing them to work and learn at their individual pace.